At the time that we're recording, James Harden is rumored to either go to the Sixers or to the Nets. I don't want to talk about like what it means for either team, what it means for James Harden. Alan, my thoughts and your thoughts on the idea of super teams, three All NBA guys on one team, sort of eliminating the idea of a balanced league. That's a dilemma that the NBA has had for a couple of years now. Was it LeBron's fault? Was it the Warriors' fault? I don't know. I think if you have a chance to win a title and you can't, go for it.
Right.
Is it your fault that you drafted well and you drafted the Splash Brothers and you find this gem in Draymond Green and then you get lucky? You get injury luck on your side in a positive way where you end up paying Steph Curry prior to his first MVP year, their first title year, paying him like Steve Novak money. Like you're paying him $12 million a year.
Yeah, that's gonna be a thing, bro.
But dude, seriously, you're paying the best player in the league at that time. I mean, he won MVP back to back. You're paying him dick. And then you can go and get Durant. You can go and get these guys on like these 1 year, one-off $10 million deals. So you have injury luck on your side there in a positive way. I'm not against super teams. I'm not. I mean, the history of the league, it's always been like 5 or 6 teams that go into a season realistically with a chance to win the title anyway. How are your feelings about this?
I feel like we've had it for a decade now. When you look at super teams,
It's kind of the norm, right?
Yeah, you kind of grow accustomed to it. Either you like it or you don't. So I've definitely warmed up to it. Especially, I grew up a Heat fan, so I kind of had to accept it because you add all these pieces. Like, okay, look, you want to win a championship. It's not just about quote unquote doing it the right way. Of course, you want to develop players, you want to draft well, but when the opportunity is there, you got to take it. And I think it started with Boston. We can't look past Boston. With KG, Pierce, and Ray Allen, and then eventually Rondo coming into the fold. So I just think now that's what the NBA is, and that's what you have to contend with. Of course, look, Toronto was an awesome story. I think everyone enjoyed that. Ultimately, it's a star power, it's a star-driven league. So how you build it, and what I love is that it doesn't really matter about positions. There's no real like we need this type of player. Of course, you want 3-point shooters. Everyone wants their sharpshooter. Everyone wants their big-time guard playmaker. But I like how teams kind of construct it where it's like, okay, we have shooters, but we could add like an explosive big man, or we could have someone that is kind of a swing man, someone that could post up and then also do damage on the perimeter. So, at first, like I wasn't crazy about it, but this is when I was like 17, 18 years old. But now, I think just my love for basketball and just how exciting the Western Conference is, I'm definitely for it because look, I think it's the best way to build it. And I just think it creates so much more engagement too. And I think just seeing the culture fits as well. Like, what's it going to be like if, Harden plays with Kyrie and Durant? Like, that's a pretty explosive bunch. And those are 3 guys that kind of need the ball in their hands to be happy. So I want to see how they deal with the dilemma. And then you have the Steve Nash element to it. I almost said Steve Novak. See, now you got Steve Novak on, but the Steve Nash element to it as well. But yeah, like when I was younger, I was like, this is lame. Like, come on, we need integrity. But look, it's like, look, you got to be ruthless, man. The opportunity is there. Look at Pat Riley. Pat Riley had a young roster that was slowly building towards something. Like, I remember watching a Heat team. Like, there was once a time Michael Beasley was a rising star. As Michael Beasley's number 1 fan, Michael Beasley was supposed to be a 2010 guy, but then he's like, wait a second.
Melo with the left.
Yeah. LeBron's fed up in Cleveland. Bosh, like most players in Toronto, wants to get out of Toronto. Wade's in his prime. We could put something together. They all have a relationship. Why am I wasting time with get these guys in? You gotta be ruthless. So if these teams want to build super, like look at the Lakers, they did the exact same thing, bringing Anthony Davis in. So, I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, man. I think that I would love for my team to be able to build a super team, but that's a different discussion. But
Chris, you just want 1 star in.
Yeah, I just want 1 star over there, and not to trade away any promising young ones that you might have. But like Chris Paul, he goes to the Suns, and I wouldn't say that they're building a super team, but now it's like I expect Devin Booker to have a monster year, and you're looking at them like they'll be a little bit more of a contender this year. They should make the playoffs.
They're already rising.
Yeah, they're already rising. Now you add pretty much, I think what you're going to see with them is what you saw with the Thunder last year, like a young core, and you throw in Chris Paul, and he spearheaded them to the playoffs. You probably see the same thing with the Phoenix Suns. But I think going back to it with like Harden, I think the whack thing got to be like, man, if you're a Houston fan, it's just across the board. Like we were talking about the Texans before, like Westbrook has requested a trade, Harden has requested a trade, and not only that, bro, like they have no first round picks until like 2025.
Oh man, they really are the Texans.
Yeah, they do. It's something about it. Like Daryl Morey came in there and he just cleaned house. Like he wanted established stars.
Yeah, I think there's just something toxic within that organization, just the way they operate, and just some of their high profile losses in the playoffs, just the way they've kind of you know fallen apart. They just seem very discombobulated. When I look at Houston, it's like, okay, they got this star power and they're kind of exciting to watch. They're one of those teams like, okay, they're cool, like a 7:30 game I'll watch, but it's just like when it comes to playing like the premier opponents, they're gonna fall apart. And I don't know if it's like a mental thing, but it's just there's something within the organization isn't right. And I don't think it was just Mike D'Antoni. I've never been a big Mike D'Antoni guy, but I don't think you could put 100% of the blame on him.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like across the board in sports, we critique guys not being able to get over the hump. But sometimes that hump is like an all-time hump, right? Like, can you blame Stockton and Malone for not getting over Jordan or Barkley or all those guys in the 90s? Can you blame some of these teams in the East like the Hawks and the Raptors when LeBron was there? It's like, bro, you have a GOAT candidate that I got to go through. You're
Or
the
how about the Knicks
Rockets.
in the 90s?
Right, Knicks
Yeah.
in the 90s. Like, I mean, every team that ran into Jordan. And then you look at the flip side, like nowadays, like how bad was it that you couldn't get past the Warriors, which is an all-time team? Like, yo, that run of 2015 to 2019 Warriors, like favorite year in year out. You won 3 titles. You're winning 60 plus games a year. If Durant and Thompson don't get hurt, who knows how that Raptors
Right.
series plays out? Like, yo, you're talking about historic teams that you ran into. So yeah, if you can't beat them and you're fucking James Harden, that ain't the worst thing in the world. Like you
Right.
beat everyone else. Like, yeah, I can't get over him. I can't get over Brady. I can't get past Brady. Now it's gonna be like, yo, you can't get past Mahomes. Like you can make the A, like if you're
Love how you mentioned Brady being a Giants fan.
what about him?
You just mentioned, can't get over Brady.
I mean, we could, dog. You know what I'm saying? 2 times, Easy E, Eli Manning, first ballot.
Yeah.
But that I don't fault guys
Yeah.
like that if you can't get over
By the
them.
way, we had mentioned one of my all-time favorite teams. We had mentioned those Kings teams not being able to get over Kobe and Shaq. Oh, those Kings teams. man.
Peja and Bibby and Weber, Divac,
Oh,
like
man, Chris Christie. Jesus, Doug Christie.
Doug Christie.
And Bobby Jackson. All
Yeah,
that.
man,
Young
yeah.
Turkaloo. But yeah, you run into these juggernauts, and it's just tough to overcome. Like we might see, like you said, with Mahomes, and what happens with the Lakers now, like because they seem well built, and now they just got Schroeder,
Mhm.
who's a very dynamic guard. He's someone, okay, he's a little inconsistent, but more times than not, you know what you're gonna get from him. He's one of the most explosive guards in the league. So they're rebuilding. Oh, no, they're just bolstering their roster, I should say. So
Yeah, and didn't give up much for him too. Which
right.
is